As you probably know by now, most of the phone manufacturers are ditching the headphone jack on their latest phones. And despite the fact that AirPods are really convenient and have incredible battery life, they just don't sound that good and have those stems that many people can't stand. As a result, unless you want to carry around a dongle all the time, you'll have to invest in some wireless earphones. And in my opinion, the move is to get some truly wireless pairs that don't need a wire to connect the two of them, because they're just more versatile and clean. Hi guys, it's KJ, my tech guy here, and this video will be all about the best truly wireless earphones that I can personally recommend. I'll make this video as informative and concise as possible, and let's get right into it. So today I'll be looking at 5 pairs of earphones. Full disclaimer, these companies did send me these pairs of earphones, but they didn't pay me anything to say anything specific. All the links will be down in the description below. I'll be rating the earphones in different categories that I really look into when choosing earphones: functionality, comfort, fit, sound quality, carrying case, and finally price. So hopefully by the end of the video you'll see what you value most in a pair of earphones, and you'll be able to make a more informed decision if you happen to be stuck between any of them. So let's start with functionality. With truly wireless earphones, manufacturers have to get really creative in how you're going to interact with it. There's such little real estate on any of these earphones that it really gets challenging to add any sort of functionality at all to these earphones. The xFyro XS2s and Jaybird Runs both have standard buttons on each earphone to answer and end calls, as well as play and pause your music. I'd say the xFyro's buttons are actually easier to press, but on the Jaybirds it's easier to know when they are pressed, because it is more of a noticeable click. The Jabra Elite Active 65T have a standard button on the right earphone that acts as that multifunctional button, and can even activate its hear-through function where the 65T can play music while also feeding in audio from your surroundings, so you can still hear things going on around you. The left button is actually 2 buttons where you can raise and lower its volume. The Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless have capacitive touch surfaces on both of its earphones. Touch controls are cool and all, and even if I know what gestures and how many taps to do, sometimes it just misses the input that I'm trying to give it. Trying to do something as simple as putting it into pairing mode, which requires me to touch and hold both earphones for 5 seconds, I usually end up having to try multiple times. The Galaxy Buds are also controlled by touch, but the active touch area seems to be wider on them than on the Sennheisers. There are still those moments where I thought I did some command and it just didn't work, but I would say the issues aren't as prevalent as on the Sennheisers. I would also like to add that the xFyros have another level of functionality that the other earphones just don't have. The other earphones should be able to withstand any sort of sweat or rain, but the xFyro XS2s have an IP67 rating, and xFyro says you can wear these in the shower or even around the pool if you wanted to. They are completely sealed. But a downfall to the Galaxy Buds and the xFyro is that they don't have a cool app like the others where you can send over software updates and change different settings on your earphones. So here are my scores for overall functionality. The xFyro XS2s have the best water resistance rating, but they don't have volume controls or an app. The Jabra Active 65T have pretty much all of the functionality of the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless without the frustrations that touch controls could sometimes cause. Whereas the Galaxy Buds and Jaybird Runs have just okay control interfaces. The reasons why the Galaxy Buds were scored a 4 instead of a 3 was because of how great its battery life is. I wore them almost the entirety of a 5-hour flight and ended the flight with still 30% battery on the earphones. Comfort and fit is a category that I didn't think would vary that much between the earphones because they all fit essentially the same way. They use the seal of the rubber tips in your ear, then their bodies try to fit into a crevice in your ear for stability. They all can fit pretty snug once you get the right seal. The Jabras and Sennheisers both fit nicely with the shape of my ear, whereas the xFyros seem to be so light and small that they still seem like they create a solid fit with my ear where I'm confident they'll stay in. The Galaxy Buds and Jaybird Runs, however, seem to take the fit to another level for me just by adding those wing tips. If the other earphones had pretty good fits, the Jaybird Runs and Galaxy Buds have phenomenal fits where I can't feasibly see someone having one accidentally fall out of their ear doing anything. The Jaybird Run's wingtip is larger, and as a result, they were actually go-to workout earphones for the past couple of months or so. The Galaxy Buds have the fit down, and then get put onto another level in my opinion due to how little I feel them in my ear. I used them on a flight from LA to Boston, and not once did my ear feel sore, whereas my ears would get sore in around an hour or 2 with any of the other earphones. So here's how I would score the different earphones in terms of comfort and fit. They still all use those rubber tips to create a seal in your ear, so keep that in mind if those kinds of earbuds tend to hurt your ears. But also note that even though the Galaxy Buds also use the rubber tip, The fact that they're so light and compact make them significantly more comfortable than the rest. So now we're going to get into sound quality. This is an important category for obvious reasons, and I want to preface this by saying I'm in no way am I an audiophile. But there are some subtle differences in sound that I was able to hear through my experiences with using these earphones. Let me first tell you that if you would have picked up any of these, you probably would have been impressed by the sound coming out of the truly wireless earphones. But because I've been rotating these earphones for the past couple of months or so, I've been able to pick up on a couple of things. First off, the Jaybird Runs and xFyro XS2s sound almost identical in every aspect. They sound good, but they just don't give as full of a sound as the other three. The Galaxy Buds and Jabra Elite Active 65T are a bit of a step up from those in terms of sound quality in my opinion. Everything seems much more accurate and closer to sounding what I would expect vocals and music to sound like. The Galaxy Buds have noticeably less bass than all of the others, but they make up for that with clear highs and mids. Whereas the Jabra Elite Active 65T have a nice pronounced bass, with maybe not as perfect highs. The Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless takes the sound to the next level though. When I first listened to them at CES where it was incredibly loud around me, I was still able to hear everything so clearly. The entire sound spectrum sounds really clear, and there's this perfect level of punchy bass in my experience. The Momentum True Wireless sounds so good that I would sometimes edit my videos with those instead of my Bose QC35 over-ear headphones. So when it comes to pure sound quality, these are my scores. Where I had to bump the Sennheisers to at least twice that of the next highest earphones because they are just that much better. Notice the Jaybird and xFyros are still good, it's just the other three sounded noticeably better when I was rotating headphone pairs. The Momentum True Wireless are just in another league in terms of sound. Now I'm going to get into the carrying cases. All the manufacturers took different approaches when it came to their cases, and this could be really important based on where you plan to store these earphones when you're not using them. All four companies actually took significantly different routes when it came to their cases. The Sennheiser's case is the most high-end feeling. It also uses USB-C, which is a major plus in my eyes, because I hate having to carry around a micro USB cable when just about everything else uses USB-C. The Galaxy Buds case also uses USB-C and can also wirelessly charge from any wireless charger or even supported phones like the Mate 20 Pro and the new Galaxy S10s. Most importantly, however, the case itself is significantly smaller than the other cases because they don't have to provide as much power to the already power-efficient earphones. The blue inside and the magnetic lid are also very nice touches that give a more premium feel. Jabra elected to go with a more flattish pill shape that I actually do like. It isn't too boxy and also stays relatively compact. The matte finish along the inside and outside is also a nice touch. It feels premium. The Jaybird Runs are in this giant pill-shaped case, and honestly I dislike this case the most because of how bulky it is. Also, the case itself just seems slightly more flimsy than the others. And when directly comparing the other cases, I can see that it just doesn't seem as premium. That being said, this case itself is still pretty high quality, and the Jaybird Runs are always secured when I open the case. The xFyros took a different approach and actually made the case longer and more cylindrical. I would say this case is the most pocketable because of how narrow it is, and it even doubles as a small portable battery in case you needed a little extra juice on your phone. So here are my personal ratings when it comes to the carrying cases. The Galaxy Buds case is very compact and premium feeling, whereas the xFyros is the most pocketable, but it's actually really long lengthwise. The Sennheiser's case is actually pretty bulky, but it uses USB-C and looks and feels very premium. The last category I'll talk about is price, which will actually let you know which earphones you could actually buy in the first place. The Jabra Elite Active 65T retail for $190. The Jaybird Runs are now $115, the Galaxy Buds retail for $130, and the xFyro is $125. The outlier comes in the fact that the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless earphones retail for $300. Keep in mind that a lot of these earphones go on sale pretty often, so you most likely will get them for cheaper than retail. So when I score the prices, the Galaxy Buds, xFyro XS2s, and Jaybird Runs are the most affordable, whereas the Jabra earphones still have relatively okay prices. And lastly, the Momentum True Wireless are just not as inexpensive as the other four earphones. So here are the final results when I added everything up from the different categories. So surprisingly, Sennheiser's True Wireless earphones, which I said sounded far and away the best, and the ones that I actually used the most, scored the second least out of all the earphones. But this is only because I weighted all of the factors equivalently. In the real world, this just isn't true. Some people will hold sound quality above all else, where others really just have a set budget and need to get the best at that budget. At the end of the day, I still think there are different types of people for each of these headphones. The Jaybird Runs are for the people who run and work out a lot because they can feel safe knowing that the earphones will stay securely in their ear. The Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless are for those that value true sound quality the most. They are the most premium earphones I have reviewed, and they do indeed sound the best. The xFyro XS2s are for the person who may work around wet environments, and they can feel confident knowing that even full submersion in water won't break them. The Jabra Elite Active 65T and Galaxy Buds are the two earphones that I think are the most well-rounded earphones for people who just want reliable earphones that work well. Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of the earphones I mentioned because that's why I included them in the video in the first place. Also, if you happen to be stuck in between any of them, hopefully this helps you make a more informed decision when you actually end up buying one. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section below, as I know I left out some information to make this video as concise as possible. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter and DM me on those platforms, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. As for this channel, make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell clicked because I have a lot of really cool videos in the works now that finals are over. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.